Hello there and welcome to this fourth and final part of a mini little series of videos I've put together, just looking at how I play American Civil War epic battles, focusing pretty much on the supplement that you get from Warlord Games. So in this final video, by the way, I will put the link to the other three videos in the description, but for this final video I just wanted to focus on the charge, because it's one of the things that's quite different to the standard black powder rules and how it's interpreted in American Civil War battles. And then also there's three special rules. So in Black Powder, there's quite a few special rules up to fighters and valiant and brave and stubborn. There's quite a few in the main rule books, but in the supplement here, you get three specific ones for the American Civil War. So you've got Sing the Elephant, Uppity, and the Rebel Yell. So going to just focus on how they go on the battlefield as well. So I hope you've enjoyed these videos. I hope I've helped somebody at least. Had some really nice feedback and comments. There's another battle report coming up soon. I'm just working on it at the moment, so continuing the series of things I've been doing. So hope you enjoy it, keep well, and catch you all very soon. Okay, so let's talk about the charge. It's one of the things that, if you've watched some of my battle reports, it's can be one of the most hardest things to pull off in a game if you want to do it. And again, the way the rules have been written in the supplements, it's trying to reflect the warfare of the time. Both in Glory Hallelujah and in the Epic supplement, the rules are basically the same. And again, it tries to reflect the fact that soldiers of the American Civil War were reluctant to charge an enemy who was holding their ground, and you'd end up with these kind of long, protracted, close-range firefights rather than closing to charge necessarily. Obviously, that did happen, and there were examples of that throughout the conflict, but more prevalent was the standing off each other, shooting until somebody quit, basically. So so the rules, the way that's written, is quite interesting. So in this example here, we've got two Confederate regiments here, and a commander, some Union here, and these want to charge in. They are in initiative range, so they're within 6 inches of these. So in normal black powder rules, it's an initiative move. They could just basically make a charge move into here. The way the rules are written for American Civil War, they have to be ordered. So whether they're outside of initiative range or within initiative range, but on both occasions you still have to order to be charged. But also, and this is what makes it very difficult, is if you're charging to a frontal arc, it's a -2 command modifier. So typically commanders are about a command rating of 8. That reduces that to a 6, which on 2 dice, yeah, it makes it very difficult to pull off that order. You're going to need at least a 6, roll a 6 or a 5. And if you're outside of initiative range, so for example, if these guys were pushed back a little bit further, say back here, so in other words, to charge, you're going to have 2 moves, so because they're 6-inch movements. Think about it again, it's still charging that frontal arc, so to order these guys as -2, so you're going to have to be rolling a 4 on 2 dice to get the 2 moves into a charge. So it just makes it very difficult to do, and means you have to start to get right into close range. You have to start to get a lot closer if you want to try and charge. Obviously, you can get a lucky roll, of course you can. But I found it very difficult to charge, particularly when units are in cover as well. If you had so it starts to bring in. You really need to think about flanking and bringing units into flank, or at least trying to engage troops here, and then bring something else up in support to flank. Because flank charges aren't subject to the -2. So say this unit was here, so it was going to charge into the flank, and it's on initiative still. It still needs to be ordered, even though it's initiative range, but you don't get the -2, so that would be ordered on an 8. So again, a lot greater odds you're going to be able to charge into the flank of that unit when ordered, albeit still initiative range. And obviously you get some benefits from charging a flank anyway. So it does start to really focus your mind about where you start to put your units, that if you want to try and engage and move people off objectives, etc., or really try to force your opponent into engagement, you've got to try and flank. Charging the front is so difficult. It's particularly for formed infantry. This is for formed infantry. There are some exceptions. So if you're charging skirmishers, I mentioned it in the cavalry video that I did. If you're charging against skirmishers, you don't get the penalty, and you can charge on initiative. But you don't have many skirmishers in the game, so most of the units you're going to come against are going to be formed infantry or formed artillery. Again, I mentioned before, I think cavalry can charge cavalry, but we talk about infantry here. It's very difficult to do so, particularly if you're outside of initiative range as well, because of that penalty. So you're trying to get those flanking manoeuvres to make it successful. Okay, so that's the charge. So I'll come up for a couple of other bits and bobs. Right, so this is the last part of the video series that I wanted to do, and just wanted to really focus on some special rules that are in the supplement, the Epic supplement, and also that's in Glory Hallelujah as well, that are additional to the other special rules that you can get in the main rulebook. So things like Elite and Brave and Valiant and Stubborn. There's quite a number of special rules that you can apply to units that just give you an opportunity to make some of the units a bit more unique. There are 3 additional rules or special rules within the supplement for American Civil War games. So you've got Seen the Elephant, Uppity and Rebel Yell. So I'll start with Seen the Elephant. So this is where, again, trying to focus on the fact that as the war was progressing, some of the regiments that were involved or still going kind of understood the brutal nature of the war. So basically had seen the elephant. That was the phrase being used. So again, to reflect the fact that these are quite, battle-wise regiments, battle-hardened. These guys aren't stupid, basically. So we just talked about charging. So in this scenario, again, we've got the Union are going to be charging the Confederates, and again within initiative range. So again, there's going to be ordering this unit to charge, and again you get the -2 command modifier. But if these have seen the elephant, there's also an additional -1. Which is really interesting. So that would be -3. So again, that would bring his command rating down to a 5. So it makes it really difficult to get units that have seen the elephant to charge in. And again, if you've got some of them in your game, it just makes it really interesting because you've got to think about where you're going to put those units. You're not going to put them at the centre of your line. You want to be, they're probably more likely to be on the flanks, because ordering these guys in, it's going to be a -3 to the front. And if these are in defensible positions, so, for example, if they're behind walls or in cover, earthworks, it's a further -1, so it's -4. And I have had the situation where I've tried to charge, I can't remember which battle report it was, but I had a couple of units that had seen the elephant trying to charge some units in earthworks, and it was a -4. And it's virtually impossible to get it to charge. So it makes it very difficult. Also, the rule does state as well, if you're trying to order units that are seeing the elephant to move within, well, it says in the rulebook 12 inches, but again, I halve my ranges, so 6. If you want to order them to get within 6 inches, so for example, if they're outside of 6 and you wanted them to move into 6-inch range, again, you get a -1 command modifier to that. So if it was an 8, it would be down to a 7 to get them to move within 6 inches of that unit. So that is seeing the elephant, so it's quite interesting. But on the opposite to that, you've got Uppity. Now, Uppity, again, this is probably younger units perhaps who hadn't quite experienced what's been going on, were keen to get involved. They were called Uppity by their contemporaries. Now, these units don't suffer the -2 penalty for charging. Instead, they get a +1. So again, if you've got a couple of regiments who've got the Uppity rule, and you want these to charge into the front, they don't get the -2, they get a +1. So if he was an 8, it becomes a 9. So basically, very easy to charge. Now, I wouldn't suggest you have loads of Uppity units in your games, but actually having 1 or 2 just adds that little bit of option for you as a general around what you could do. So again, these charge into the front, they'd be a lot easier to do with that Uppity rule. So I really like that. I like the Seeing the Elephant, like the Uppity. It just gives you some of that little flavour across your units to not all be standardised, not all be the same. Give you a bit of variety across your games. But just for me, the Uppity one's a bit of a one I wouldn't give too many to. It's probably 1 or 2 units max that might have that. And it's similarly maybe with Seeing the Elephant, you don't want your whole army to be not be able to charge at all. And the final one is Rebel Yell. This is particular to the Confederate players or Confederate armies, and this is synonymous with that kind of fighting spirit and that banshee cry that the rebels have. I'm not going to try and replicate that on this video, but basically it's very similar to there's the special rule around tough fighters, but it's very similar to tough fighters. So basically the way it works is, if these units they're in combat, so they charged in. So I think the way this works is that they're able to reroll 1 miss in hand-to-hand combat if they've charged into contact. So if these are charged in and they've got the Rebel Yell rule, they can re-roll 1 miss in hand-to-hand combat. But in addition, this is where it's different to tough fighters. If they get the Union player would have to re-roll one of its saves. So, for example, in this scenario here, they've got 2 saves to make, and they make both of the saves. You'd have to re-roll one of those saves, which is an interesting way of looking at it. So, it's a slightly different version of tough fighters, and again, just gives that little bit of an advantage to the Confederates who've got that Rebel Yell rule. So again, I wouldn't give it to all of the units involved, but again, nice to have a couple of options there for the Confederate player. Okay, so they're the specific special rules for American Civil War. So I really do hope you've enjoyed this series of videos. As I said, there's loads of battle reports on the channel where you'll see some of this being in action, etc. Again, any comments, likes, thoughts about it, let me know. And I'll catch you all very soon.